Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be another what I eat in a day. So if you never watched my other ones, primarily I eat like a vegan plant-based diet. I would say 90 to 95%, but closer to 95% of a plant-based diet. You will see me the odd time use certain things like grass-fed butter. Occasionally I don't use butter that much. Maybe honey, bee pollen, things like that, sometimes collagen, anything that I think for myself has some sort of health benefit, fish oil for my eyes, I like using, but I have not ate meat, and I've pretty much ate a vegan diet for almost 4 years now. Just the last 2 years, I have ate occasionally a little bit of dairy if I'm somewhere traveling and I can't have another option, but always if there's a non-dairy or vegan option, that's what I do. So eating this way, I've actually lost 7 inches off my waist, which is insane. I found old measurements. My waist at my belly button used to be 35 inches. I think mainly it was because I had a lot of fat on my sides, a little bit on my back, but at my belly button right now, it is now 28 inches. Obviously my hips and butt are a lot wider, but 7 inches off my waist, and it has stayed off for years now. So first up, I'll show you a super easy breakfast that I love to make. It's so easy, and most of these things are very cheap, what I'm showing you. I'll show you how to make flaxseed granola. So this is Lyn-Genet's recipe from the plan. So basically it's really easy. You soak flax seeds. You can soak them for a few hours or overnight in some water, and then I add the vanilla extract, nutmeg, cinnamon. Sorry, the washing machine dishwasher is going if it's noisy in the background. So you're just gonna stir it around and let it soak. I didn't have many seeds left, so this is all I'm gonna make. It'll probably make about 2 servings, and then you're gonna bake it in the oven, which I'll show you later. So after these have soaked for a bit, I added a little bit too much water, but no big deal. I'm just gonna pour it on a tray lined with parchment paper, and then I'm gonna bake it on a low heat. You can see it's kind of like a gooey texture. So I'm gonna bake it on a low heat so all the liquid will evaporate, and then it's gonna make like a crunchy granola. So I'll show you how I eat it tomorrow morning. But basically, because this gel kind of leaks out and these are super high fiber, when you eat this, it kind of does like an internal sweep of your intestines. So it clears out a lot of stuff, if you know what I mean. So if you eat this, I would say 2 to 3 days in a row, you will notice things moving along out of your body that you have never noticed before. So that's what that flaxseed looks like when it's cooked. So it's like crispy. So then you just break it up into like little crumbles, and then I'll show you tomorrow what it looks like when I'm eating it for breakfast. I just woke up, so I drank a bunch of water, and I'm just having this organic weightless tea. It's dandelion hibiscus, so it's a red color. It's kind of hard to see, it's bright. It's nice and sunny this morning. So it's really good for liver health. And then I'm going to make some coconut milk here, just so I can have my flaxseed granola. So I'll show you again how I make it. However much unsweetened shredded coconut you put in here, I just put one of these. You're gonna put 3 times the amount of water. So I'll just do that. So now I added the filtered water, so 3 times the amount of the coconut. I'm gonna put 1 date. I soaked this so it's nice and soft. Gonna put a little splash of the vanilla extract. Speaking a little. A pinch of sea salt. And a sprinkle of cinnamon. And then we're gonna blend this on high for 2 minutes in the Vitamix. After you blended it, it's gonna look like this. So if you wanted to use it right away for a smoothie, you can use it like this, but I would suggest straining it through a mesh bag into a bowl, just so it's really silky smooth. So just pour it in there, and then we're just gonna squeeze it out, and this takes less than 3 to 4 minutes to make the milk. There you go. Easy. You can just keep it in the fridge. Obviously, you can make a lot more if you want. I just make a little at a time. So here's the flaxseed granola. So I just kind of broke it into pieces. So I'm gonna eat it, and this is how I would, and this is how it says to in the recipe. So I'm just gonna add some wild blueberries. They're still a little bit frozen. So we're going to add some raisins and cranberries to sweeten it up. And then I'm going to add some pumpkin seeds for some zinc. And then I'm just gonna add the fresh coconut milk that I just made. There, you have a delicious breakfast. This is super anti-inflammatory, and it's really yummy with the raisins and the cranberries in there too. Otherwise, if you just eat the flax seeds plain, obviously it's gonna be a little bit bland, so definitely add a few things into it. I just wanted to show you, so this has been only sitting less than 10 minutes and you can see it start to separate. So what those store-bought coconut milks or non-dairy milks, those creamers have, they have a lot of gums, stabilizers to bind it all together so it's a more uniform texture. It still might separate a little bit, but this would only really last 2 days before it goes bad, whereas the ones from the store last months. So you have to ask yourself, what do they put in there to preserve it? So it's a lot of stuff that can disrupt the bacteria in your gut. My boyfriend actually, one day he was going to work, he heard on the radio something about, they were saying, I think it was maybe a study that came out of Japan. It said the stabilizers in non-dairy milks are causing what they think, like over time, it will cause a lot of plaque buildup in the arteries, which when you think of it, it kind of does make sense because it's binding everything together. It's almost like a glue. So after I heard that, I really try to make our own milk all the time. I'm gonna show you now my favorite green juice. I make this not all the time, but I would say maybe a couple times a week. It's good if you're having a green juice to switch up the ingredients, because with anything, even if you're using healthy ingredients, you don't want to build up an intolerance to it, okay? So just always, when you make it, just make it a little bit different so your body doesn't get used to anything. That's also a good tip if you're having probiotics or any sort of supplement. Maybe switch up the brand, switch up the strain if you're taking probiotics, things like that, just so your body doesn't get too accustomed to one thing. Make a super healthy green juice, which is great for your liver. I actually made this green juice all by myself. And then I recently read a liver rescue book by the medical medium. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but the book, it was pretty helpful in a lot of ways. And everything that I do put in this are ingredients that he says are beneficial for your liver. So kind of without knowing, or just, I know certain ingredients based on other research I've done, this green juice is excellent for your liver, so take note. So I got this little container just at the dollar store to organize things in the fridge, and I'm really liking it because these 3 things I always put in my green juice. So it's just, I find easier to take this container out of the fridge as opposed to digging through to find all these containers. So first thing I'm gonna put in, I usually take this daily, is the Agent Nature, the Holy Youth, her Adaptogen Powder. So I'll show you the ingredients in it. I'm not gonna lie, this does smell like fish. So if you're really not someone that is going to like that, I would suggest maybe mixing this in a little pineapple juice or something like that, or a smoothie or a green juice, right? You can mix it just with water, but personally, I don't like the flavor of it like that. So there's marine collagen, there's crushed pearl powder, which is good for healthy glowing skin, holy basil, that's good for stress, and spirulina, a great antioxidant, detox your body. So it's thought that this adaptogens have been used in like Ayurvedic, ancient Chinese medicine for thousands and thousands of years. It's kind of, I don't know, becoming like a trendy thing to take again, but it does help with certain chemical, biological stressors in your body. So I like this, and I find that my skin is glowing and my hair and nails grow quicker when I take this. I always put a sprinkle of bee pollen in. So bee pollen is pretty cool. If you had to only live on bee pollen, you'd be okay because it has all the nutrients we would ever really need pretty much. And chlorella. This is like a superfood, freshwater algae powder. It's thought to bind onto heavy metals in our body, so it's great for liver detox. You should look for it. Usually it comes from Taiwan when it's a good source, and yeah, it has good essential fatty acids as well. So this, work up to a full serving. Sometimes it can almost leave, I want to say like a weird, not metallic taste, but kind of like a weird feeling on your tongue because your body is trying to detox if you take too much of this. So work your way up. So yeah, so first off, I'll put all those 3 powders in there. So I'm gonna add about, I don't really, you know, necessarily put the same serving in every morning. Chlorella, you can work your way up to a bigger serving. And then we're gonna put a little sprinkle of the bee pollen, just like that. So I'm going to put about 3 to 4 stalks of celery in. This is a little bit waterlogged, which is why it looks weird. We're gonna put 1/3 a cucumber and 1 whole apple cored. So I leave the skin on. And this, if you have a hard time digesting cucumber, try peeling off most of the skin. Sometimes people have a hard time digesting it, and it's a cold vegetable. So let's add all this in the Vitamix. So we have my 2 powders and my bee pollen. I'm gonna add water after, obviously. And if this makes a little bit too much, you can save it and you can drink a little bit later in the day. I'm gonna put a good portion of cilantro. So I just put it with the stems on in there. Cilantro is really good to bind onto heavy metals. And I'm also gonna put another handful of greens. 1 second. So I'm going to just add a little bit of some additional greens. And I should have said too, the apple is really great for liver cleansing. Apple juice, the acid in it, it really helps to soften the stones in our liver, gallbladder. So it just helps to expel not so nice things. And also too, sometimes I have pineapple juice. So you could always put a splash of that in, pineapple juice or a little piece of pineapple to help sweeten. And pineapple is also great for digestion. So I'm going to leave the full recipe of this in the down bar. Also follow me on Instagram because I always post recipes there. But this is just kind of like playing around over the years. Sometimes I add lemon or lime juice to it too, which is great. Yeah, I'm gonna put in a big piece of ginger. Ginger is really important, so I'm just gonna throw it in there. Yeah, so I'll list everything in the down bar that I put in. I'm gonna put a little manuka honey in, lastly, just to sweeten it. So manuka honey is great. It has so many health benefits, antimicrobial properties. Manuka honey from New Zealand is where you should get it. It is quite expensive, but I usually only really put it in sometimes lemon water or my green juice. So even though it is expensive, the bottle lasts for a long time. Just make sure you get it from New Zealand. So I'll add that in. You know what? I saw this lime, it's kind of about to go bad, so I'm gonna actually put some in here. So let's just do a little recap. Okay, put the lime juice. So I put this adaptogen. Guys, if you really don't have this, don't worry about it. Put the other stuff in. If you have this, great. So this is like a superfood liver green juice. So chlorella, bee pollen, this adaptogen. I have manuka honey, a little lime juice, ginger, some greens, 3 pieces of celery, 1/3 a piece of cucumber, an apple, and then we're gonna add a little bit of water, and you could always splash in some pineapple juice as well. You could add some grapes, what have you. So that's what it looks like. I'll link everything in the down bar. So I'm gonna add some more filtered water. The key is you don't wanna put too much water in green juice. because all this stuff we put in here has natural waters that will come out when we're blending it. So in that whole thing, I'm only putting about that much water, and we'll see the consistency. Obviously, if it turns out a little bit too thick, add a little more water as you're blending, but I think that should be good. So the salts in celery that are found naturally, it helps with bile production, helps with hydrochloric acid, and the cucumber in there is very hydrating and helps to heal your gut as well. So all the stuff in here is excellent. It takes about a minute or so to blend it to a nice consistency. So now we're gonna have it. I always put my green juice in this mason jar. I don't know why, this is just always my green juice jar. And you can see the color of that. It's just so rich in nutrients. Yet it does still have some sweetness, so it's not gonna be gross at all. It's really refreshing. I love the taste of ginger. It's gonna be really good. Yeah, I just tried this and it's delicious, as always. So I have experimented with intermittent fasting. So I find, if possible, in an ideal world, I would be done eating before 7 p.m. every night, but realistically, that doesn't happen all the time. So just say I ate dinner at 9 p.m. I'm gonna wait until at least 9 a.m., 12 hours later, to put anything into my body. I usually go longer than that, but kind of like the 12-12 rule, your body is always craving balance. So that's what I like to do. And then often in the morning, I'll start my day with something that's really easily digestible, like a juice, a smoothie, maybe a piece of fruit. If you can, fruit is better if you eat it alone. I don't always do that, but if you can do that, that's great. Now I'll show you what I had for lunch. A lot of times I like making a salad with roasted vegetables, or a soup and a salad, soup and a vegetable, maybe like chickpeas and rice, dal, something like that, and always with some greens. So the spices we're gonna use for this soup, it's really easy. Cinnamon, pepper, salt, onion powder, cumin. So just kind of put them all to your taste in here. So in here I have a full package of carrots. All of it is rough chopped. We have 1 zucchini, 1 big onion, 1 sweet potato, medium size. Then I put a lot of garlic and maybe about 1 inch of ginger. It's all gonna be blended after, so you don't have to worry about cutting it nicely. And I'm just gonna fill it a little bit over all the vegetables with filtered water. Okay, and I'll show you how much water to put in. Just to there, you don't want too much water, you want it creamier. So there's the soup when it's done. So I just put it in the Vitamix. I'm going to make sure not to over blend it because I personally like this when it's a little bit heartier. I'm not going to today, but if you want to make this a little bit creamier or fuller fat, you can add some just coconut milk from the can, not the whole thing, like maybe a tiny bit, like a 1/6 of it, and that's really good as well. And usually it needs just a little bit more sea salt in it, or you can just sprinkle it on it when you're eating it. And it's really good if you want to top this with sunflower or pumpkin seeds. For my green for this meal, I just have some steamed broccoli, and then I'm just sprinkling some red chili flakes on it, which this is my favorite way to eat broccoli, you guys. And then I put a little either orange juice or lemon juice, either or, and a little sea salt. I think again that I learned that in one of Lyn-Genet's books in the plan. Yeah, this is my favorite way to eat broccoli. You guys need to try. And last up, I'll show you what I had for dinner. So I'm making a cilantro pesto here. So I put about, I think, a 1/4 cup of walnuts. Again, I'm going to link all the recipes below into the food processor. Now I'm adding some fresh cilantro, a couple of cups of it. Some sea salt. And I'm going to add in some fresh lemon juice, and 2 cloves of garlic went in there. I think for another time I would actually roast the garlic or just grill it in a pan before I put it in. I'm not the biggest fan of raw garlic flavor. It was a little too garlicky. Other than that, this was amazing. And then you're just going to pulse it till it's all chopped up. I just put a little bit of olive oil, and you can always just add a little bit more water if it needs a bit more liquid when you're mixing it out. There's what it looked like when it was all done. So then you're just going to take it out with a little small spatula, and I'm going to show you what I put this with. This would be great with some pasta, but I'm going to actually put it with some zucchini noodles. So I'm making some mushrooms and zucchini noodles. So instead of using oil to cook the mushrooms, I just put some low sodium veggie broth and some garlic in there. And this worked really well, makes them really flavorful. I just added salt and pepper. Next, I'm just gonna take a small zucchini, and if you don't have a spiralizer, I think they actually sell them at the dollar store now. So this is great. You can obviously use other vegetables. There's what the noodles look like. I didn't do it that neatly, but I'm just going to toss them in the pan. I like to just put the zucchini in the pan at the very end because I don't want them too soft. I like them a little bit raw, and we'll just toss them really quickly. And then I added in the pesto, and you're just going to toss everything till it's well coated. There it is when I'm all done. I added some extra cilantro and just some hot chili flakes on top of it. So every day I like to also drink 3 to 4 liters of water. So the canteen I like is the clean canteen. The water tastes really crisp and cool coming out of it. And I find the 1 liter jugs encourage me to drink more. I like to drink through a straw. Just, I don't know what it is. I find I drink more water if I have a straw. And I just find it easy to remember how many of these that I had per day. I've had bottles that are half this size in the past, and I don't drink as much. So this is easy, right? So as long as I get at least 3 of those, I'm good. If I'm working out more than that, you don't want to drink too much water though. That can be sometimes hard on your kidneys. What else? So every day I like taking probiotics, fish oil. My eye doctor recommended that, and I feel like my eyes are more hydrated. I don't know if that's just in my head, but when I do take it consistently, I take vitamin D, a prenatal multivitamin, and I take zinc a lot of zinc. Zinc's very important, and magnesium sometimes at night, and B12 occasionally. Thank you so much for watching. If you like seeing what people eat, or you want some ideas of what I eat in a day, just go follow me on Instagram. My name's just janice.eadie over there. I show a lot of times what I'm making, and I really like cooking and baking, and my favorite thing is like taking a recipe and how can we make this healthier. So go follow me over there if you like seeing things like that. Bye guys.